Guys, Kiki Kannon here with Kannon Studios, and today's video is going to be about how I glued on my pieces on my Zelda costume I'm working on. So I'm going to go over the process of the pieces that I created and the material they're made out of, and then the glue I used to glue it on fabric. So if this is something that interests you, please stick around. Maybe you could use it for your project or your costume that you are working on. And thank you guys so much. I have more videos on the way. So I 3D modeled all of my pieces in Blender. I'm going to skip that part to bore you, but I will have Blender videos. And then I resin printed them, and I do have like 15 resin printing videos at this point, more to do. But because I didn't want to keep printing and printing and printing these pieces, which is also why I just printed them flat, I'm going to make a mold so I can continually cast all the pieces that I need and then go ahead and sand and clean them up. You don't have to do this process, but you can. And I also have a video on making molds of resin casted pieces. And you can use a platinum silicone. It can be a lot more tricky to get the resin pieces to cure if you do that. I'm just going to go ahead and use tin just to save myself the hassle. And the disadvantage of using the tins is generally they have a longer cure time, but I wasn't really in a hurry because I have plenty of other stuff to work on in the studio, so it wasn't a big deal for me. So after pouring, this was a 24-hour cure time. Usually with my experience, when my molds are thinner and they're not as thick, I can usually demold it way sooner than that. So I just kind of use the 24 hours as is suggested, but I generally don't follow that. And after that 24 hours, I can finally demold my piece. And I'm going to be casting using this black Onyx. I haven't used it before, just to get a solid black color. And I originally bought it for another project, but because I have a lot of it, I'm just going to be using it to cast all of my pieces. So I know I do kind of a sloppy job, but I just pour it in and then I evenly brush it all the way through and across it so that it gets in each mold. It's a little bit of cleanup, but it's not too terrible. I can usually break away the pieces. Working with this resin was just a lot different than what I'm used to, so I ended up struggling with a few other things until I got the hang of it. Luckily, I'm made of patience, so some of these pieces did take a lot more cleanup using the X-Acto knife, and then I had to sand it down so that the backing wasn't super smooth and it was even, so that way I had a better surface to adhere to the fabric. Unfortunately, because like I said before, I wasn't as familiar with this resin, I ended up having a lot of these holes. I since got better castings out of it and figured out what I was doing wrong. But I went ahead and went back and cleaned it up, and I just used the UV resin to fill in the holes and then cure it and then sand it. Again, super tedious. I could have just casted a bunch of more pieces, but sometimes I tend to be stubborn and just kind of want to save everything because I know how. But yeah, more work than probably needed. I'll save you the extensive sanding footage and move right on to basically I primed and coated those pieces, and then I moved on to creating my apron for Zelda, and I'm just going to gloss over this quickly so that we can go ahead and get to the gluing part. So I might make a separate video on just creating this full costume. So after I got my aprons made, as you can see, the top one I already stuck all my pieces to, and I'm just making sure to align it up to the back. So I was debating doing embroidery for all of this because it is something that I wanted to get into, but then I thought it would be interesting to try to add 3D elements. The trick is you kind of have to have them pretty small so they can still move around so they're not going to pop off the fabric, and make sure that the back is really sanded well with a higher grit so it's rough so it'll stick. And the best glue I find to work is the 3M Super 77. I will link it below. And a few other ones, spray glues I've tried. It is a little bit messy, so it does take time, but I mean, I think that it looks pretty good. I haven't worn it out and around, so I can't tell you how durable it will be, but I did literally shake the shit out of it for a long period of time and they stayed on there pretty good. I definitely won't be moving around that much when I am wearing it. So I feel very confident that they will stay on. And I did do some tests before I decided to commit gluing all of the pieces on my skirt. So thank you for sticking around for this video. I have more videos coming and I'll probably make a full creation video of this specific costume of Zelda. And of course I have more tutorials coming, so feel free to subscribe. Thanks guys.